it's heavy, I know it's hard not to panic when it gets dark. You've got some damage, I see the scars. I've heard the voices inside my head, I felt the aching across my chest. I'm far from perfect, I'm doing my best. And you're just like me, and I'm just like you. I've got a broken heart and some shadows too. We still got our light, it's something they can't touch. We keep it deep inside, 'cause we've all got demons we have to fight. Oh.
Hello and welcome back to Basscast. This is episode number 13. I am Evan.
And I am Alex.
We are back.
We are back.
We are back. It has been a while since we recorded. My goodness. What was the last? Was it January? We put out an episode. We did our top 20.
The top 20 video because we split it up into two parts. It was like 20 through 11 and then 10 through 1 or something of that's something like that. And I think that
we
the
did.
very
We
last
did
episode
top.
came out.
We did top
January,
20.
right?
Yes, we did top 20. We did the 20 through 11 episode 1, and then 10 through 1,
right?
Episode 2, part 2, or whatever. But since then, we have not recorded, and we're back. Does it feel good to be back? It feels good to be back.
Yeah, there's been a lot that's happened over the past.
A
lot that has happened over the past.
An absolute ton, and I definitely want to get into that. First, I want to say, though, we had originally planned to come back the first weekend of April, and unfortunately, due to some family emergencies and issues, we were not able to do that. So that was unfortunate. But we are now back, and we're planning on releasing an episode at least every other Sunday. So right now, this is being released Sunday night, June 30th. You're probably listening to this, if you're listening to this on the first day, you're probably listening to this July 1st. But our plan is to release at least one episode every other Sunday night / Monday morning. Wherever, depending on where you are in the world. It'll be Sunday night, Monday morning. So what have we been up to? You DJ'd.
Well, okay, so
explain exactly what happened, because I'm not even sure if I really know.
Okay, so I am currently really wanting to learn how to DJ, and I've been looking at some equipment, and I'm fairly certain I kind of want to get the Pioneer DDJ, or I think it's DDJ RRX, I think is what it is, and it's like basically a controller, but you're able to use the USBs for record box. And so one of my friends, he works at a skate park, and they have an indoor skating roller rink.
This is like a skate park, like skateboarding park.
It's
right?
like any type of skating, whether it's skateboards, it's scooters. There's an indoor like skating rink.
Oh, so they have roller skating.
Yeah, roller skating rink.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a DJ booth in the indoor roller rink, and so they in that booth they have just a regular Pioneer controller. I forget what the model was, but it was one where you have to use Serato or Tractor or whatever. But he was using DJ Pro on his laptop specifically, and so I was just watching him learn. Like, I don't think he does have a little bit of interest in wanting to DJ, or not. But I mean, the way that he mixed the different tracks, it was kind of, I guess I could say in a good way it was unique, but I don't think the the technique was all that correct. I mean, granted, he has never, taken. I mean, I'm assuming that he's never taken a DJing class of any sorts, but like, I'm pretty sure on the DJ Pro program, there's an auto mix button that you can use to go through a playlist of songs, and so he mainly used that. But at some points, they're at the skating rink. They have different games that people would ask the employees if they could play that, and so they have.
So he was not able to play whatever he wants. It sounds like.
Well, they could. Like people that were using the skating rink, they could come up and ask for suggestions or yeah.
Well, I've heard this. Like, there's some places where some people that I've talked to DJ at, and they are not allowed to play. Like, they have to stick to like America Top 40, or the Top 40 chart type music. They have to stick to that stuff.
And plus, the place where he DJs at, for the skating rink, I mean, there's a lot of kids that go there, so he kind of has to play clean versions of songs or clean music. But it's like most of it is somewhat trappy but it's rap music.
Oh, okay. So did he play a lot of pop music also?
Yeah, it's pretty much pop music. It's just house beats and big room beats because it's that's the good beat for skating.
Right.
So,
okay. So did he? And how long did he DJ for?
So I asked him the beginning of the week if I was able to come, and he said yes. And so I went on a Friday. And Friday nights are pretty, I wouldn't say they're too busy. I mean, they get some good business, but I guess not really good business. So it's kind of, it varies, I guess, from week to week how busy they are. And so when I was there, I thought it was, I guess it was a normal crowd for them, for the people that use the skating rink. And so, so he probably started around 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and then he probably went on till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So something like that on a Friday night. And I mean,
it's a decent night.
Yeah, it is a decent night. And I'm assuming that's how it is every Friday.
Okay. So that it's mostly for the skating rink though.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I do have a kind of a funny story. So I asked my friend if I could make some requests about EDM songs, and so I was like, well, first off, I asked him if I could play if we could listen to a couple hard songs and play it over the whole entire sound system, and so he was like, no, the management doesn't really want you to do because he can be asked to play a song, but then he has to listen to the song in order to see if it's okay, I guess, to the terms of what the management there at the skating rink wants for it to be played. And first off, it has to be clean. And if you can't find a clean version, there's no point. And so I'm trying hard to try and find a good EDM hard bass song that doesn't have any cursing in it. Well, first off, you can't really. They don't really want you to play hard songs. So I immediately then went to future bass songs.
Okay.
So then the first song that I could think of that was good and not hard was Beautiful Creatures by Millennium.
Okay.
And I knew that song wasn't hard. I knew that song was really good. And it was kind of it was slow. It's a slower based tempo, I'm pretty sure, than what, normal skating music is. And so I think I played that. We did that song. And then we went to his new collab with I forgot, John Bellion called "Good Things Fall Apart," and we played that song. And then one of the people that was skating, it was a guy that came up and he talked to my friend who was currently trying to mix 2 songs at the time, and he said, "What is this music? What are you playing?" And
really,
yeah, but he kind of said it in a more like
a
dirty,
condescending tone.
condescending tone, and yeah, my friend, he was like, yeah, we get, if you don't play the right songs, you'll have people that come up to you.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
It is kind of
First of all, it is not hard to find a bass song with no cursing. I don't know what you're talking about. There's a lot of bass music that doesn't have cursing.
You're right.
Literally any bassnicker song.
But it's hard to find a good EDM song that doesn't have cursing in it. that's not a hard song or a song that goes along with what the management there at that skating rink.
I completely disagree, but that's a completely different discussion.
But honestly, so that's kind of like one of the bad things that kind of happened that night. But when I got there, it was actually a pretty legit sound system. I mean, granted, it wasn't like PK sound or anything like that, but
like a little skating rink has like PK sound, PK bass.
But
they're playing like America's Top 40 music.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they have a lot of lights. They had a lot of lights. Unfortunately,
like
they didn't.
Strobe?
Yeah. Well, not really. I wouldn't think that there was strobes, but unfortunately, they didn't have lasers. But they do have fog machines. My friend, he said, like, yeah, if you, like, one time they put the fog machine on and it, like, took a super long time for all the fog to clear out of the skating rink.
Really?
Yeah. They have these, like, square-looking lights that, like, gradually get bigger and smaller and kind of, like, go along to the beat of the music, and that's really cool. And then they kind of had the lights, like, at Celine for when we saw Ray Volpe. It's, like, where they're, like, at the top and then they just shine down and, like, move
Oh, okay,
around.
yeah, they move around, yeah. They're, like, floor light. They're, like, on the ceiling, but they're floor lights.
But they shine down on the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. That was probably one of the coolest things about where he DJ'd. Well, I mean, they have multiple employees that do DJ. Like, he was talking to me about how, I think, my friend said that his manager was, like, I think he said that he is a DJ specifically, and I know some of the other employees that he's friends with there at the rink that he works at, DJ.
Okay.
So.
That's pretty cool. Did you actually, like, do some stuff, or
I mean,
were you just kind of in the booth?
I mean, I was in the booth just watching him the whole entire time, but there was some parts to where I would, like, he would, like, let me try.
Yeah.
But it was totally off because the track would be like 5 seconds into the into playing, and then I would raise the volume up or whatever because you couldn't hear it over the sound system.
Yeah.
Because I was only trying to cue it, and then I was like, oh shoot, I gotta like, mix it in or whatever.
Okay.
It wouldn't.
All right, so RedX's first DJ venture
was not really a
Didn't go
DJ
that-
adventure.
So, wait, what's it? By the way, what's your friend's stage name? Does he have a stage name?
I don't think so. I asked him that, and I'm not sure if he responded if he had one or not.
So this rave, this show
I wouldn't really call it a rave, though.
was Unknown Person B2B RedX.
Yeah, sure. With mainly unknown person mixing
With
everything.
Unknown Person
and
obviously
Redx,
being the
and
lead.
Redx just like standing there off to the side.
RedX just kind of was in the booth. Wow. Well, that's fun. Mm-hmm. I went to Brazil.
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. You did go to Brazil.
Yes. I went to Brazil to go see the lovely and beautiful Cynthia. And Brazil is...
How is she, by the way?
Brazil, she's doing very good. She's hoping to come back to America in maybe about 4 months or so, 3 or 4 months. I got to meet her. I got to see her. I got to meet her family. Her family is really nice. Brazil is pretty awesome. The food is delicious. The people are very, very nice. I like Brazil. I would definitely recommend it for a trip. We went to Rio to see the Christ Redeemer and to see the Sugarloaf and to go on the beach. And we went to Sao Paulo, which I didn't even realize this, but Sao Paulo is like the 4th or 5th biggest city in the world.
Really?
After like New York, Tokyo, Mexico City. I think it's like New York, Mexico. I think it's like Mexico City, New York, Tokyo, and then Sao Paulo or something. It's crazy how big it is. Okay. I feel like nobody talks about Sao Paulo, but all the touristy stuff is definitely in Rio de Janeiro, which is the city that they had the Olympics in a few years ago. And so, yeah, we got to see a lot of touristy stuff. I got to meet a lot of her family. It's very interesting. So we didn't go see any concerts or anything, but Brazil does have a couple of those big festivals. I think Brazil used to have a Tomorrowland.
Like the one in Disneyland?
The one in no. Tomorrow World or Tomorrowland, which is the big festival in Belgium.
Oh, yeah, Tomorrowland. Sorry, yeah. I thought you were. I don't know why I was thinking
Disney.
Well, you know the movie. There was a movie about Tomorrowland.
Yeah, I know.
It was Disney movies. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know about
Tomorrow World or Tomorrowland?
It's Tomorrowland.
Okay, Tomorrowland.
Yeah,
So
in Belgium.
in Belgium, they used to have a Tomorrowland in Brazil. I think they've stopped that a few years ago.
That sounds familiar.
They, I think, also used to have an Ultra in Brazil, and they don't have that anymore. By the way, one of the DJ duo sets we saw at EDC Orlando 2018, and I think we mentioned them on a podcast, was Vintage Culture.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are actually Brazilian. I didn't realize that at the time,
Really?
but they're actually Brazilian. I don't know if they played while I was there or not. But
Are they like from Rio or Sao Paulo or something?
I don't know that either, unfortunately. Okay. Anyways, I was going to say about the music. Like, so a lot of times when we were driving around in cars, like we would listen to the radio. And it's very interesting, their music that they play on the radio, they have kind of 3 different types, quote-unquote, of music. Like, they will play, the native Brazilian music, like native Brazilian pop music, the music they actually make there. They also play other Spanish music because, obviously, if you don't know, in Brazil they speak Portuguese, but then in all other South American and Central American countries they speak Spanish. But Brazil is the one outlier. In Brazil they speak Portuguese. So they've got Brazilian pop music where they play Brazilian they play pop music that's in Portuguese, and they have pop music from all of the other countries in Central America and South America that play Spanish speaking pop music, and then they also play a lot of American pop music. And so it's very interesting. You're listening to the radio, and you'll hear one song that, of course, like I've never heard of because I've never listened to Brazilian pop music, and then they'll go to an American top 20 song. It's kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense. And so from what I learned is, unfortunately, not everybody in the country knows English. They all speak Portuguese, but if there is a really catchy English pop song that they all like, they just kind of learn the sounds of the words. And so they technically know the words. They know how to speak the words, but they don't actually know the meaning of the words in the song. So it's kind of interesting because she also said, and I found this out, that since they're in the southern hemisphere, like obviously America's in the northern hemisphere, we're north of the equator. Brazil is south of the equator, so during Christmas it's hot there. So I was asking her and her family, when, like, do you guys sing all our normal Christmas songs for Christmas? Because our Christmas songs, involve like Let It Snow, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. It's like a lot of them are themed to cold weather, right? And so I was asking them if they sing those songs when it's like 90 degrees, 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And she says, yeah, some of them they do. But the reason it's okay is because they are not actually, like, for the people that don't understand English, they're just singing it because they associate that song with Christmas. So it's kind of interesting, I think. Like, and I feel like sometimes we do that as well. There's probably some songs that we've learned the lyrics to in other countries, but we don't actually know what the lyrics mean, so we're just singing them just because we associate with that time period.
You know what? Because we were talking to one of our parents' friends, and he said that if you know the band ABBA, they kind of did that at first because they're a Swedish band, and they. I don't remember if he said that.
Yes,
that
ABBA.
They started out singing songs in English, not knowing what the words were meaning.
Exactly, he did say that. Yeah, like ABBA.
I don't know that too well though.
Somebody was telling ABBA. Somebody was writing the songs for ABBA. Right. They had to have been, and they were like teaching ABBA. This is how you pronounce the words. This is how you're going to sing the song.
Yeah.
And they would perform it in English, but they didn't actually know what they were singing.
What they were
because
singing.
they're Swedish. Because they're Swedish.
I think that involves a ton of trust.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Because you have no idea what you're saying. Well, you have no idea what the words mean, but yet you're still singing it and recording it. It's like, I don't know. It seems like a little like super trustworthy in that songwriter.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of I mean that's kind of an interesting thing, but that's been maybe a bulk of some of the stuff that we've done this little quote unquote off season. I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of CD and EP releases in the EDM world, and I just kind of want to go through a couple of these. And I think you've probably heard some of these, if not most of them. But most of these is stuff that was released since the last time we did like a current events type podcast where we talk about things that have happened recently. And I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of these. These are all ones that I would recommend our viewers listen to, and I think most of these are going to be ones that you've listened to and that you enjoyed. One of the first things was at the very end of 2018, Slushy came out with a CD called Dream. And this CD had a lot of music that was very Casbo and Pluko-ish. It was like very, very chill music. Mm-hmm. It was not his normal type of music. I think that was kind of him venturing out. Mm-hmm. And again, I kind of want to just go through a couple of these, or go through. I've got a little list here of CDs and EPs that I think are worth mentioning. We've got the Slushy Dream CD. OK came out with another EP called Nice, and I've been thinking about OK a lot recently because OK really, really hit his stride with that Thief song, right? That song was so popular when it came out. I think they were even playing it on like pop radio stations, if I remember correctly. And that song was so popular, and I feel like ever since Thief, OK has I feel like OK is trying to recreate songs like that, and he just hasn't done it yet.
Okay.
OK definitely has his own sound, and in this EP, it's called Nice. It's like called Nice with an exclamation point. But a lot of these songs, they just kind of sound like he's obviously got his own style, but they kind of sound like he's trying to recreate that same magic that he had with Thief. I don't know if anybody else feels that same way. But I think the EP is still worth a listen because OK does have a unique sound, and in my opinion, unique sounds in the EDM community is a good thing. Like if you can separate yourself from the rest of the pack, I think that's a good thing. If you have a specific sound that sounds unique and most people can associate a certain sound with you, I think that's definitely a good thing because, again, you're separating yourself from the rest of the pack. What else we got? Bear Grillz Demons CD.
Yes, that's it. Demons is the name of it.
Demons, yeah. Demons was one of the songs. I think my favorite song on the CD.
Currently right now, that Demons song is stuck in my head.
It's a beautiful song. He had a lot of juicy sounding collabs. He collabed with Sloven King, Pogman, Bach Nero, and he did a song with that involved vocals from Michael Martin. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed most of that CD, but again, my favorite was the song Demons. And then there's another song, Flow, on there is another good one that's worth mentioning. I think Flow and Demons are the last two.
Is Flow that bass house song?
Yes, okay. It sounds very bass house. Yes. We've got one of the rising mid-tempo artists. His name is 13. Well, actually, I don't know if it's a he or she, to be honest.
It's a he.
Is it he? Okay. Sure 13, and it's not spelled 13. It's actually, when you go search for him, it's 1-3. Like, literally type in 1-3. He came out with an EP called Old World Order. It's just usual 13 type music. It's kind of dark sound. It's kind of in that same res spectrum where it's kind of dark, mid-tempo. But 13 definitely has his own type of sounding music that's it sounds like it's one of the types of music where if you hear it you think, okay, this might be 13. It doesn't sound like anybody else. We've got Champagne Drip, who's an upcoming artist. Champagne Drip actually was one of the first times I heard Champagne Drip was when Champagne Drip did a remix of a Bass Nectar song, and I think that's what maybe first put Champagne Drip on some people's maps. But Champagne Drip just came out with an EP called Starman. That's definitely worth a listen. if any of our viewers out there are fans of like sad boy music, quote unquote, I love sad boy music. I know maybe it's cringy to say that, but like music that is very emotional like that, I think like emotional music can be super, super pretty. And so there's an artist called Mydoka, and Mydoka came out with a EP called Beautiful Story, Ugly Life. That's definitely worth a listen. Very chill music, very pretty music. The next one I know you're going to be interested in, the AU5 EP Energize, which had, 4 songs?
Yeah, I think so.
4 songs?
4 or 5 songs. Yeah.
And, I mean, the main thing on that is that's usual AU5 sounding music. Like, AU5 obviously also has his own sound that's very unique. And I've never really heard, I've not really heard any other artists that make music that sounds like AU5. And I think AU5 is a highly underrated artist. I think
very, very, very good.
So we've got AU5 Energize. One of the surprises, J Phelps EP, Maximum Damage. Lots of fantastic hard bass music on that one. Definitely worth a listen. Barely Alive had another release called Lost in Time. That was an EP as well. And one particular song I want to mention on that one was a song called, actually I forget what song it was, but it was a collab with a duo, Mode Step. And Mode Step has been in the dubstep game for a while, but when I first heard Mode Step, I was not a huge fan. However, some of the stuff that Mode Step has been doing recently has been really catching my ear's attention. And I have to give it up. Mode Step has definitely been stepping up their game. So continue to watch Mode Step. I'll tell you another big surprise. Liquid Stranger came out with a big CD called Infinity. And I was so surprised at the number of songs that I really, really enjoyed from that CD, because it's a very long CD, and Liquid Stranger has a very specific type of sounding music. Liquid Stranger does that, whatever you call it, the freeform bass, the space bass, however you want to say it. But lots of fantastic music on that Infinity CD. I would recommend that CD to anyone just to hear the stuff that he's making, because that CD is one of Liquid Stranger ventures out from his normal genre a lot in that CD. So I think that CD is definitely worth a listen for anybody. And again, that one's called Infinity. Oh man, a couple of EPs that came out that I think have songs that are potential to make our top 2019 list. Vincent, an EP called For You, has a gorgeous song, a gorgeous collab with Pauline Her. Tynan came out with an EP called, and this is a fantastic title, Songs for Ghosts to Haunt To EP. Great title. Love that title. And on top of that, the highlight song, in my opinion, on that EP is Between the Devil and the Sea. I think it's the very first song on that EP playlist. Great song. Tynan, I feel like Tynan is trending upwards, definitely, because every time Tynan is becoming another artist that every time I see he's got something new released on SoundCloud, I immediately click play, because I definitely want to hear it. And another artist like that is Cinemata, who is an artist that collabed with Snowmass and made our top 20 list of 2018 with one of those songs. But Cinemata came out with an EP called Insane, also worth a listen. Let's see, one of our favorite artists, Bass Nectar, finished. Is he finished with this Reflective CD?
I think so.
So this is Reflective Part 4, and it had like 5 or 6 songs. So now he's got Reflective Parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, and he came out with 4 recently. And the highlight on that one, in my opinion, is his collab with Born Eye and Jansen. It's About to Get Hectic. That's a great song. That song would be great live as well. That would be a fantastic headbanging song. Let's see what else we got. A couple more. We've got Phase 1 had a CD called Transcendency. I think you really enjoyed that one. I think you're more of a Phase 1 fan than I am, just because you like the metal music and like the rock music integration more than I do. But Transcendency, I think I saved about 6 or 7 songs from that CD. Definitely worth a listen if you're into Metal music and bass music. We've got, oh man, another surprise. There's an artist named LS Dream. Came out with a CD called Renegades of Light. Fantastic CD. LS Dream, it's very hard to describe that genre, the type of music that LS Dream makes. But Renegades of Light is definitely worth a listen. I think I saved about 10 songs from that CD. Fantastic CD. Definitely worth a listen for anybody that likes bass music and EDM music. And then our old friend 1788L came out with an EP called Synthetic. And, of course, 178L is back to his normal mid-tempo style. Well, he's back. I mean, he never really left, really. Yeah. But he is... he's still making his normal, very heavy bass sounding mid-tempo. And I'm sure there's lots of others that I missed. There's a lot of individual songs. Those are mostly like EPs and CDs that I wanted to touch on that have come out. And those, I like all of those that we just talked about. I would definitely recommend for anybody to listen to. Absolutely. Individual songs, I know you want to talk. I'm sure you want to talk about Slander because Slander finally released the Love Is Gone. I think you've mentioned before. Which, by the way, did you? So they did the Love Is Gone and they did the Potions, but both of those were like all the fans were wanting both of those, correct?
So. They initially first played Love Is Gone, I remember, at EDC 2018 in Las Vegas. And ever since I heard that song on their mix when they released it on SoundCloud, I want to say that I was one of the first people to recognize it and like talk to them, I mentioned them on Twitter saying, when is this song going to get released? And, of course I never get a response back. Or they only like the tweet or something like that.
Yeah, but they do that. They don't respond. They just like tweets. And I always see it on my Twitter as well.
Yeah, and so, of course, they released it almost a year later, which is, I mean, I'm grateful that they finally have released it, but it's like, for me, it was like a long time, and for the others, and for other fans of their music, I'm pretty sure it was a long time. And so then, I think it was around Christmas of 2018 is when they first started mentioning, well, we have this collab with Zedd the Sky called Potions, and so then I see on Instagram them posting videos about them playing in the song with Zedd the Sky with them, and so then on and on we go until we get to about a month before EDC Las Vegas of 2019 this year. They eventually released Love Is Gone, and then about a month or so later, then they released Potions, and so I mean I like Love Is Gone more than I do Potions in my opinion. So.
But the Love Is Gone is the one that you've been hyping.
Yeah, the Love Is Gone is one I really like.
So are these part of a CD or EP they're working on?
They're just singles.
They're just singles, yeah. Okay. Slander and Zedd the Sky is a pretty juicy collab, I feel like. And I feel like there's been some really juicy collabs. Juicy single collabs. One that I definitely want to mention... a song that I've really enjoyed listening to this year is the Marshmello and Sudden Death, right? Remember our friend Sudden Death?
Oh, yes.
All right, that's how we pronounce it. So Marshmello and Sudden Death came out with a song called Sellout. And I think we've touched on this before. Every time you have a collab with two different sounding artists, like let's think about this Sellout song. It's Marshmello and Sudden Death, two completely different sounding artists. This is another example of a song where it's very, very obvious to me that Marshmello did the build-ups and Sudden Death did the drops. And I am just curious. I wish we could get feedback from our listeners. I want to know if people enjoy like when people read a collab, do they want this person to do the drop only and this person to do the build-ups only, or do they want both artists to work on both the build-ups and the drops? Or maybe it doesn't work like that. Like if you collab with another artist, maybe it's hard for both artists to do both the build-up and the drop. Because, I mean, if you think about it, Sudden Death and Marshmello have two completely different sounds. And so if one of them is doing the build up and the other one's doing the drop, maybe it's easier for them to collab instead of, because if they collaborate and both do the build up and both do the drop, maybe that's more difficult. I don't know. That's just something that I've always wondered about. But yeah, the Marshmallows Fun Death collab was great. Ecali1788L had a song called RUNN. Fantastic song, and that is one. It's got kind of a similar situation where it's obvious that 1788L did one drop and Ecali did, I think it was the second drop, or at least that's what it sounds like. And so again, another song where I'm curious if people, enjoy that song because of the two different sounds, or if they wish that the entire song was more blended together with the two types of genres that Ecali and 1788L do. So that's something else that I've noticed. And there was, obviously a lot of singles that have come out. It's also worth mentioning the Excision Dion Timmer EP collab called Breaking Through. Did you have a chance? This is very, very new. Did you have a chance to listen to this one yet?
So yeah, I did listen to it. I forget which song it is. I think it's Bones. I'm not entirely too sure. But I know that one of the songs kind of sounds similar to one of the songs off of Virus.
Oh, one of Excision's songs.
Yeah, Virus.
Is it okay?
I don't remember which one it is. I can't remember it. I can't think of the.
Well, there's only 4 songs in there, so it's easy to listen to. This Excision Dion Timmer bromance. I mean, seriously, can we please talk about this?
I guess it's pretty much a bromance.
Like, what is this bromance that Excision and Dion Timmer have?
It's been like
why?
It's been like what, 3 years?
Like, why does it?
Ever since Virus?
Why does Excision have such a bro crush on Dion Timmer?
I don't. Maybe he just heard his music and was like, "This is who I'm going after. He's going to be the next big." And I mean, look at Dion now. He's like touring. He's like touring with Dubload and Company, or just got finished with that Neon. I forget what it is. It was Neon something. Like it was like a Neon. I can't remember, but it was like a Neon tour with Dubloads and Company.
Okay.
So those are the songs that we've been keeping our eye on throughout 2019 as of so far. And hopefully y'all have listened to those songs and liked them.
I mean, that's just more stuff that have stuck out to us, I think, and stuff that we would recommend as far as new music, new CDs, new EPs that are worth a listen.
Right. Okay. So now, kind of switching to EDM news, like, drama or whatever. Okay.
So this is EDM drama.
Yes, I guess. Well, somewhat. Yeah. I guess you can classify this as drama. So, everybody should know who Zedd is.
Who is Zedd?
Okay. So we officially saw Zedd at EDC Las Vegas 2017.
Oh, that's right, we did. Yeah, we did.
And we saw him at Circuit Grounds. He was a headline at Circuit Grounds night 2, I believe it was. Great show, honestly. It was pretty cool. Of course, they boost the sound system for him, so like everything was louder, everything was more like colorful and everything of that sort.
Yeah.
So fast forward to this year. Some people might have. I know you haven't heard this. You probably haven't heard this.
Okay. I'm curious now.
Okay. So this guy his name is Matthew Coma. Matthew Coma goes on Twitter on June 5th of this year, 2019, and he basically just tweets out all this long, I guess, message towards Zedd. So apparently, if you don't really know the backstory, let me give you the backstory of this. So Matthew Coma and Zedd, I am assuming they were very, very, very good friends before Zedd was big, and Matthew Coma would write some of Zedd's songs, and sometimes he would ask Zedd in order to record the song with him. So basically, Zedd was a jerk to Matthew. And Matthew goes on Twitter and goes into his notes and just writes this long long-winded message towards Zedd, and mentioned Zedd on Twitter, and I was scrolling through my Twitter feed one day, and I see all these DJs they retweet, and it's just wow. You just read this and you think, oh, I never thought this person. But it's always possible that a person could be so greedy and want all the money and all the attention and a little publicity towards themselves that it can get to their head. And so he goes on to say, he wanted to, he created a song, he wrote a song for Zedd, and Zedd just downright said, yeah, I wrote the song myself.
So he took all the credit, basically.
Yeah, he's taking all the credit. And so
is this official or what?
I mean, this is, I'm pretty sure this is official.
So, but what did Zedd say in return?
I don't even know if he responded.
Did he respond at all? Because, this sounds like, I hate to take this back to our glory days in high school. It sounds a little like plagiarism.
On Zedd's part?
Yeah. If you use someone else's work and call it your own, that's technically plagiarism, right? Did Zedd deny the allegations, or are these? I guess they're technically allegations. It's
well, it's just hey, I did all this stuff, and then you never said anything back. No, I don't see anything. I'm assuming
what exactly did he say in the tweets?
Well, it's super long-winded. It's still there on Matthew Coma's Twitter. It's at Matthew Coma. Coma is Koma. And you can go there. He has 2 tweets. There's Dear Zedd Part 1 and Dear Zedd Part 2. So, it's a pretty long message, but it just goes about him and explaining what all he did for Zedd, and that Zedd never really gave him credit and took all the credit for himself.
It's why is this only now coming out?
I don't know.
Every time maybe it's just me, but it seems like every time there's allegations, it seems like there's a long period of time where nothing was said, and then all of a sudden it's a big deal. Now things are being said,
and a person has the courage to build up enough strength.
Is that why? Do you think it's because there's threats on the backside?
Maybe. And they're just, I don't know. I don't know if threats is the main point of why people don't go ahead and call them out or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's threats on one side, but we saw this with the whole Datsik issue last year, which we're a year since Datsik passed away. And I think the stuff that came out for the Datsik allegations was also kind of old. It's not like it just happened. It was a while back this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem is sometimes this stuff happens and it's just people trying to either get credit or get money.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's why there's that delay in time or whatever, but sometimes it's hard to believe people, I think.
Are you trying to play devil's advocate in this situation?
Well, yeah, because maybe, and I'm not saying that. What's his name? Chris? What?
His name is Matthew.
Oh, Matthew.
Matthew
what,
Coma.
Matthew Coma.
Or Coma, or I don't know.
Coma.
I'm assuming it's Coma.
So his name is Matthew Coma. And does he say which song in particular? What?
He does list out a few songs. Let me find them here. Okay. So
and we'll talk about.
I'll just go in case if you don't have the time to actually go and read the response. This is the whole entire response. Okay, so it says here, in response to years of, end quote, what happened with you and Zedd, I want to finally be transparent about this. It's a really sad truth, but I'm extremely proud of the work he and I did together. Unfortunately, my good feelings toward these songs have all but disappeared as they were experienced alongside someone so toxic and self-serving that it occupied the space where any happiness could exist. It's not that dramatic of a story, and it comes down to something simple. Crappy people suck, and when they're successful, people are afraid to blow the whistle. I met Anton is Zedd, before he signed to Interscope, and I guess that's a record label. We were put together to work on songs for his record, 2 of which became his first singles, Spectrum and Clarity. We met as equals. For the beginning, his inferiority complex was made obvious, in parentheses, which seemed so absurd because his contributions were so wonderful, and he was a very talented producer back when he was involved in his productions. The blues started small, giving him giving interviews about the lyrics he wrote, which he writes in parentheses, Matthew writes in parentheses, I wrote every word and melody. With no mention of my name not being paid for singing on Spectrum until 2 or 3 years of fighting for a fee. So he's been fighting for a while.
Wow, okay.
And then him producing a song I wrote called Suitcase. You probably heard of Suitcase. For my album, then not allowing me to release it. Instead, insisting it was released as Zedd with another featured singer, or I couldn't have it. I had to wait 4 years to put a different version out, writing Find You with him in Japan, and him actively telling me he didn't want my voice on the song, but since it was recorded literally on Christmas to meet a deadline, maybe it was hard to find someone, I guess. Mind you, this is after I wrote 3 of his 4 singles and helped him have one of the biggest songs of that year. I had to talk him out of keeping my voice on Clarity pitched up because it sounded like a remix. I encouraged him to have a female singer who could really nail it. We tracked several singers on it before Foxes killed it. I wanted it to be great for him. He won a Grammy for it. I wasn't invited. There's a documentary about the making of Zedd, and I was the only collaborator not invited to the premiere or asked to be interviewed for the movie. More or less, I was just brushed under the rug while he took all the credit, which felt confusing because the millions of people who connected to Clarity and those other songs seemed to connect to the lyrics, emotions, melodies I had written. But he deemed his kick drum sound the driving force and let me out of all shared credit. I remember doing a TV show with him when I was sick and asked him to lower the key of the song so I could sing it well, and he refused because his track wouldn't sound good. Another similar instance where he refused to change the key, and I came to find out it was because he could only play piano in the key of C, and the keyboard wouldn't transpose. Sort of contradicted the whole genius classical pianist persona. For years I thought maybe it was me, but over time I'd run into other people who worked with him, other writers, singers, producers, DJs, people on his own team, and the sentiment was shared. He's the worst.
Wow.
With millions and millions of dollars and so many hit songs, you'd think you could afford to treat people with kindness and appreciate their role in helping you achieve your dream. Those songs allowed me the opportunity to work with so many electronic producers and artists, and there are so many incredible people who work so hard at their craft. I could make a way bigger list of DJs I've worked with who made me feel valuable and treated me with mutual respect. Some seriously great people in that world who I'm so grateful to have met. Anyway, this isn't a unique story. Ego, success, it's all happened and been told before, especially in the context of music. But for those always wondering why there was never more music from the 2 of us, it wasn't really my choice. Now 2 of us, it wasn't really my choice. Oh, sorry. Now he has plenty of people to write his songs and produce his tracks and help him continue his trajectory. But I'd rather work at Starbucks and clean the toilets than ever experience that abusive dynamic again. Toxicity doesn't breed happiness. Alexa, play Happy Now, but actually don't.
Actually, please don't.
Actually, please don't.
Wow. My
So
goodness.
that's one story. Well, that's the only story that I've seen so far regarding how bad Zedd is of a collaborator and music. Well, I wouldn't call him a bad music producer, but like he would, I guess, collaborator is what I would say. And even him like saying that other people, even on his own team, would say, yeah, he's not that great of a person.
I mean, have you heard any other stories like this that's like talking bad about Zedd in this sense? I mean, I know Zedd is not really an artist that you and I get super excited about, just because Zedd is more mainstream.
Right.
But I mean, have you ever heard anything about Zedd besides this? Or
I mean, honestly, no, because I mean, I was listening to his songs. Like I loved Clarity. Clarity was one of my favorite songs when it
Clarity
came out.
was a gorgeous song.
And then,
it is a gorgeous song.
And then he collabed with Selena Gomez. That song was okay.
Yes.
And then he collabed with Haley Steinfeld, and I really liked that song. That Haley Steinfeld song was really good. I can't remember the name of it, but I know I liked it.
It was so good that I can't remember the name of it.
Anyway, but yeah, I thought Zedd was a great music producer, but you never know until someone comes out. I mean, you can listen to certain people's songs and like never dive deep into their lives. But
well, I think like when it comes down to it, EDM, at least the star side of EDM, like the Hollywood side, the stage side. Let me put it that way: the stage side, the producer side, not the EDM community with the fans, but the producer side.
The on stage compared to the backstage.
The on stage compared to the backstage. I mean, obviously, every type of music has these problems where every genre of music and every music community has these problems where what you see on stage is not actually what's happening in the back, like in a backstage or whatever. Because there's a lot of, I guarantee you, I don't know of any for sure, but I guarantee you there's a lot of pop artists, country music artists, rappers, rock stars, all these different types of musical artists that they go on stage, like these certain people, they go on stage and they perform the songs, but maybe they're not actually doing a lot of the legwork, Like, there's probably rappers that have...
MCs?
What do you mean? Like, the people that...
Well, I know, like, at Coachella and probably at like, Hangout and Bonnaroo, I know that some people that do rapping, I remember, because Mr. Clean did some video of... I think it was at Okeechobee, either Snoop Dogg or Waka Flocka, or something, and they have a guy in the back just like with a controller and a laptop and
that's
what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking more about like rappers that are more popular now. I'm not Snoop Dogg. I'm pretty sure does his own lyrics, but I'm talking about like rappers, rappers that don't write their own lyrics. Country music artists that don't write their own music, rock stars that don't, record their own music, like stuff like that. But there's a point where, again, and this is a pet peeve of mine, every facet of the entertainment business is all involved around making money. And so, something that I noticed about what you were reading about that Zedd story and that Matthew Coma, like there was a point where he's saying, no, we want this song or this work to be put on with the name of Zedd. And there's a point where everything in the entertainment business is going to be centered towards making money. And so it's like, obviously any song that is made by Zedd is going to sound better and is going to make more money. Not sound better, sorry. Any song that is made by Zedd is going to make more money initially than a song made by Matthew Coma or whatever that guy's name, the stage name is. So there's a point when it always becomes about the money, and I hate that, because when it becomes more about the money, it becomes less about the art form, which again is what you and I care about, and that's what most EDM fans care about. Obviously we don't know if this little Zedd story is true or not. I mean, it sounds legit because I'm pretty sure he's verified on Twitter, and then, you see a bunch of these other... I saw at least a few other bass DJs retweet this tweet, so... I guess it is... Have you seen very many other EDM artists collab with Zedd? Or doesn't Zedd kind of do stuff by himself?
He has, but he's been... He's been collab with like some big names, like like Selena Gomez and Haley Steinfeld.
But other EDM.
I don't know about
as far as the music.
Oh, I'm sure he has. I couldn't name them off the top of my head because I don't listen
what
to
is very interesting that I just realized. Like, how you can go back and you can listen to like Deadmau5 podcasts where he talks about, oh yeah, sure, I could make a song with Lady Gaga and it would make $1 bajillion, but he doesn't do that because that's not what he's that's not like his passion as far as making music. Like he's actually like Deadmau5. Like for Deadmau5, Joel is out there actually to make something good sounding. Like he doesn't care only about the money. This particular story sounds like, if it's true, it sounds like it's more about the money. Because think about Zedd. Who is Zedd collab with? Selena Gomez, Haley Steinfeld, big names.
Yeah, big names.
Obviously, a lot of EDM producers, a lot of big names could do that, but it kind of seems like if it's more about the money, your better bet is to do collabs with big names, like big pop names like that. Yeah. Because, obviously anything that Selena Gomez does is going to get a lot of clicks, a lot of hits. And so, again, if this is true, maybe this is coming out that the Zedd team is more about making money than making a good sounding song, which is just unfortunate. Again, if it's true, we're not here saying this is definitely true, this is definitely not true, but anytime you have allegations, you have to think, is it true, is it not true? If it's not true, great, then this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
If it is true, which maybe it sounds like it is true, then unfortunately, it sounds like Zedd and that team is more about making money than making art, which turns me off.
Yeah.
Turns me off from
the thing is that I'm glad to have not have known that when we did go see Zedd at EDC. I'm glad to have now learned of it later, so I could have enjoyed it.
So you think after hearing this, like,
I'm glad I heard it after I've already seen Zedd.
Right, but do you think that after hearing this, it makes you look differently on Zedd?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You see, the scary thing is, if you say that, how many of the Zedd fans also think that after seeing this?
Well, see, I mean, we're bass music people. I mean, yeah, Zedd, he's played...
But Zedd has a lot of hardcore fans.
But, yeah.
So, even if the allegations are not true, it's not good to have this type of negative publicity with your fans. And on the other side of the spectrum, if it is true, then wow. Like, way to take away from the art form and only be about the money. Again, I know it's a business. I know this is the entertainment business, and everything, when it comes down to it, is about making money. But still, from a producer's perspective, like, Zedd should at least be more about making the art instead of making money. Zedd at the very least.
Yeah.
And in that production group, or the group that does all the Zedd stuff, he should, what's his name again?
Anton.
He should have the last say, because he is Zedd. So it's unfortunate. If it's true, it's unfortunate. Big if true.
Yeah.
Big if true. The only other thing I was maybe going to mention was at the beginning of 2019, they came out with, Netflix and Hulu both came out with a Fyre Festival documentary. And I'm sure most of our viewers heard about this just because it was so big in the entertainment industry. But this was basically a big music festival that was supposed to be like, basically a dream music festival that was going to be in the Bahamas. And it was going to be this like it was sold as like, it was sold as very exclusive, right? It was like a very exclusive music festival.
Like 20,000 people, or I can't remember.
I don't know the number, but I know it was sold as like a very exclusive, but like very high-end type music festival. Like only really, really rich people could go. And it was a complete flop.
It was awful.
Like, well, the everything leading up to the music festival, the beginning was a complete flop. Like all the construction, all that stuff. I would recommend EDM fans to go watch that. There's one on Netflix and there's one on Hulu. I forget what I think one was called Fire Fraud, and then I think that's a Netflix one, and then the one on Hulu is called something else, I think. Yeah. But I think if you're an EDM fan and you're interested in how music festivals can be created and how not to do a music festival, I think that's worth a watch, definitely. And some of the stuff that comes out in those documentaries is very interesting, like because
that one old dude.
Yeah, like there's stuff that comes out where it's like they're so desperate to get stuff done, and it all goes back to if you're planning a big event, like obviously there's going to be stress, but you want to de-stress yourself as much as you can. So like plan things ahead. Like don't decide to do everything last minute. Like plan things ahead. But anyways, I think that's worth a view for if you're an EDM fan and you're interested in like kind of like the back end of music festivals. Definitely worth a view. Any other big? I mean, obviously there's been a lot of stuff since we've talked.
I think that we like covered some of the most major stuff, at least bass music wise.
Yeah, and most of the stuff that's been coming out is mostly just like releases and singles. Like I said, we're gonna try to do like our goal is to do an episode every other Sunday, and then there's maybe once or twice where we'll have 2 episodes that come out in consecutive weeks. And kind of a quick overview of the things we want to do. We've got a couple of rave reviews coming up. We've got a list of top 20 artists that have less than 20,000 followers on SoundCloud. And we want to preview a song of each one of those artists and producers. And these are artists that are lesser known that Alex and I think could be big one day. And that should be interesting because I'm excited to see which artist you pick on that. I think I've already got my 10. I think you've got several. I don't know if you've sent me your full list yet or not. But that's coming up. We also want to do an episode where we show our mom 5 different types of EDM songs and get her take on those, because obviously our mom is not really a fan of EDM. And so we're curious to see what she thinks of these different songs. Like I'm thinking, a hard dubstep song, maybe a mid-tempo, a future bass, a trap, and then maybe a drum and bass or something like that. Speaking of drum and bass, small rant. I was on Reddit and I advertised when we did our top 20 songs. I advertised that on Reddit, and a user asked me why do Americans hate drum and bass? Do we hate drum and bass? We don't hate drum and bass, do we?
I wouldn't say that I hate drum and bass, but I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to drum and bass. I don't hate it, but I just don't really care to listen to it.
I feel like drum and bass never really made its way to America. Like it's definitely more of a European genre. Yeah. I can listen to drum and bass. It's not my go-to. I don't hate it though. Definitely don't hate it. I just don't think it ever made its way to America per se. And I think a lot of international EDM fans think that all Americans care about are the hard drops and the filthy drops, which may be true.
I mean,
maybe it's true.
I mean, that's honestly what I like.
Maybe that's true, but I mean, for the most part, I want to think that Americans are open to different types of EDM, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's something we can talk about in another episode.
I mean, considering the roller rink, I mean, the guy was trying to play a future bass song, and the guy was like, "What are you playing here?"
Well, I guess
that's more.
That situation,
I guess you have to be an EDM fan in order to understand that.
Yeah. Well, I think in that situation, I think the manager probably thinks that if they don't play songs that everybody knows and recognizes, then people will leave. So maybe that's why. Because I have heard that there's a guy that I work with, and he DJs at it's a place like Dave & Buster's. It's not exactly Dave & Buster's, but it's like Dave & Buster's. And they basically tell him he has to stick, he has to play, at least every other song has to be a top 40 pop song. And I think they do that because they want to keep people in the venue listening to that music because it's music that they recognize. Which is unfortunate because future bass is fantastic, unfortunately. But, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Everyone have a good night. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Sell out. Come on!
We're such sellouts.